His last question was about the issue of niqab. What is niqab? Niqab is a face veil that women wear with an opening for the eyes, like a Zorro, like Ninja Turtles, whatever. And the niqab means the holes that they can look through their, with their eyes. So what's the ruling on that? Because he says, Sheikh Al-Albani, he read or heard somewhere that he says that niqab is not mandatory. Well, this is true. Sheikh Al-Albani's opinion is well known that he sees the niqab not being mandatory, yet he always says this in all of his publications and books and lectures, yet all of my women folk, his wives, daughters, sisters, etc., they all wear the niqab. But he's making a point. This is his ijtihad, that it is not mandatory. And it's an issue of dispute. No one ever said that, no, it's not, there's no dispute about, over this issue. No one in his sound mind would say such a thing. Because any student of knowledge would know that there is a big place of argument and dispute over this issue. So it is not at all right to say, no, it is mandatory, full stop. It is an issue of dispute. But whenever we come to an issue of dispute, Allah says, فَإِن تَنَازَعْتُمْ فِي شَيْءٍ فَرُدُّوهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَالرَّسُولِ. If you ever dispute over an issue, return it back to Allah and to the Prophet ﷺ to know the ruling and the verdict on it. Allah Azza wa Jal is referring to the Quran. The Prophet ﷺ is referring to his Sunnah. So now this is an issue of dispute. What should we do? The most authentic opinion is that covering the face for women is mandatory, though it's an issue of dispute. And I would not like or want to expand over this issue because I've said that so many times in lectures, and there was a debate with my dear brother Abu Usama al-Dhahabi in Birmingham in Green Lane Masjid years back, where we both were not given the sufficient time to explain. But inshallah, what was said was sufficient. Chapter 33, Surah Al-Ahzab. We have two verses, verse 53 and verse 59. Very easy to remember. Chapter 33, verse 53 and 59. They're one page different from one another. The first 53, Allah Azza wa Jal clearly says and addresses the mothers of the believers and the companions. So Allah says to the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, Ali, etc. And whenever you ask the mothers of the believers, your mothers, for utensils, ask them from beyond a hijab, from beyond a visor, a screen, because this is purer for your hearts and for theirs. So the consensus of all scholars of Islam, that the mothers of the believers are obliged to cover their faces. There's no difference of opinion, none whatsoever. Agreed? Capiche? No problem. 53 states that the mothers of the believers must cover their faces. We have no problem in that. Consensus of the scholars, we have no problems with that. Let's move to verse 59. Very easy ayah. Everybody knows. Ya ayyuhan nabi, O Prophet of Allah, say, command your wives, your daughters, and the women of the believers to do what? To lower their garments, to lower their jilbab, so that they would not be recognized and hence harassed. Let's not go into so that they would not be recognized. Ignore this. The instruction to the mothers of the believers, to the daughters of the Prophet ﷺ, and to the Muslim women at large. What is the instruction? To lower their garments or jilbab. Okay, let us look at the first category, the wives of the Prophet ﷺ. What is lowering the jilbab to them? What is their hijab? Consensus of scholars, according to 53, cover their faces. Alhamdulillah. In this case, the daughters of the Prophet ﷺ and the Muslim women at large should follow this example that we have just understood from verse 53. If the instruction is to the wives of the Prophet ﷺ, his daughters and the women of the believers, is one. Tell them to lower their jalabib. So this definitely indicates that they must cover their faces like the instruction to the mothers of the believers and the wives of the Prophet. Anyhow, it's an issue of dispute, but this is the most authentic opinion, and there are so many overwhelming evidences to back it up, and this is not the time for it. So I hope this answers your question.